Welcome, beautiful soul. You've just entered a sacred space where healing isn't about fixing what's wrong. It's about remembering the power that's always lived inside you. This channel is for you. The woman whose symptoms don't fit the textbook because her body speaks a language modern medicine forgot how to read. The woman who's been living in the mystery of chronic fatigue, bloating, anxiety, pain with no clear answers. The one who's been told everything looks fine but knows deep down her body is whispering something sacred. Here, we don't chase symptoms, we decode them. We don't silence the body, we listen to it. And we don't wait for permission from a broken system to start healing. We reclaim that power now through root cause medicine, intuitive wisdom, functional testing, energy alignment, and sacred self trust. I help you come home to the truth that healing isn't outside of you, it's within you and always has been. If this is you, you're not alone and you're not broken. You're remembering. Subscribe and hit the bell because healing here is rooted in wisdom, anchored in truth, and activated in power.
Hello, Dr. Julie Lynn. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about my experience with chronic medically unexplained symptoms and pain. When I was going through some of the hardest times with my healing, it was very frustrating because I was experiencing real debilitating symptoms that no one could explain. I couldn't understand why I had the symptoms I had, why I was experiencing the pain I was experiencing if there was nothing wrong. And I got to the point where I had had enough. I decided that I could not continue going through life experiencing the pain I was experiencing and not find a reason why. It wasn't until I got fed up and sick and tired of being sick and tired that I was actually able to take action. Now, of course, this meant stepping outside of the medical system because for years I was going through the traditional medical system without any answers, any clarity, just more pills, generic protocols, and side effects from the medications that I was prescribed. I was miserable. I couldn't understand how I was going to go through the rest of my life feeling this way. I was in my mid-20s at this point, and I just couldn't understand how no one could find a real reason for these real symptoms. So I decided, as I said, to step outside the medical system, and I learned so much by taking back my own healing, taking back my own power, and reconnecting with my own inner health wisdom. The first thing I learned is that the thing that I was experiencing, the food sensitivity to gluten, my doctor wasn't even looking for. My doctor didn't even acknowledge that that was a real problem, that that was something I even needed to be worried about. So this was eye-opening because as much as I was asking for help, as much as I was struggling, the one thing that could have turned everything around, my doctor didn't even acknowledge. There was no test that were ever ran for gluten sensitivity. And I was really frustrated when I found out that all of that pain and suffering that I was experiencing was from a food that I was eating pretty much every day. And the even harder pill to swallow for me was that my doctor never even took the time to consider this as a possibility. Even though there was pretty substantial evidence at that time that suggested that chronic migraines could be from gluten sensitivity and intolerance. But none of the labs my doctor ever ran, or my specialist, had anything to do with investigating gluten as the root cause. It wasn't until I stepped outside of the medical system and started to do my own research and got curious about why I was having symptoms in the first place. Got back to basics, asking, instead of why is this happening to me, why am I having these symptoms? What are they trying to tell me? What are they guiding me towards, so that I was actually able to get to the root of the problem, which was a gluten sensitivity. And as a result, I stopped eating gluten. And I can sit here and say 6 years later, I am medication free and pain free. I can't tell you the last time I had a migraine. And the really surprising part is that I started to feel symptom relief pretty quickly after I realized what was happening and was able to remove gluten from my diet. This is the power of the work that I do with my clients. Sometimes we think we're doing the right things because we're doing what we're told. We're following the protocols, we're taking the pills. But at the end of the day, it may not be the right protocol, the right medication, the right supplement for you. Because unfortunately, if you're experiencing medically unexplained symptoms and pain, or what I call chronic female multi-symptom illness, you need to dive deeper. You need to go deeper into the root of the problem. And sometimes it's really hard to narrow down the root of the problem. And sometimes it's about managing the ripples. But at the end of the day, it's all about finding what works best for you and getting you symptom relief. And what I love most about my work is not only do you get symptom relief today by getting to the root of the problem, but you're also helping prevent damage and disease later. And this is the paradigm shift that I hope as women we all start to embrace and start to acknowledge that just because your labs are normal doesn't mean you're fine, doesn't mean nothing's wrong, doesn't mean you're crazy, and no, you're definitely not making it up. There are millions of women out there walking around with chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and no one can explain why. But I can. I can help you find real answers and clarity as to what's really going on in your body. Because I look in places nobody else has. I see things that others miss. Because I'm not looking for disease. I'm looking for early disruption and dysfunction, which when left unattended leads to damage and disease. So if you're someone who is experiencing chronic pain, medically unexplained symptoms, and you want answers and clarity as to what's really going on in your body, then I want to encourage you to click the link in my bio and let's start to decode your body's messages. Let's start to remember exactly why you have the symptoms you have in the first place. Because this is where healing begins. When we acknowledge our symptoms for exactly what they are, guides to our healing. Thank you so much for joining me today for this video. And until next time, please remember, your symptoms hold the keys to your healing. You just have to learn to listen. Bye for now.